Hey scholars, welcome to 6.3. We're looking at how does a population's age structure affect its growth or decline. So we're looking at age structure. By this, we're looking at the kind of the age groups within a single population and predicting either growth or decline, whether depending on how many individuals are in those different age groups. That's what we're going to look with at 6.3. So population made up of mostly young people can actually grow pretty rapidly. We know that there's three different types of age structure categories. There's pre-reproductive, reproductive ages, and also post-reproductive ages. And by looking at these three different categories in age structure, we can predict populations, their growth or decline. So as we look at this image today, we look at generalized population age structure diagrams. These are age structure diagrams, ways to look at what we have now to predict what we will be in the future. And usually the general thing is the larger your base of your diagram, your age structure diagram, the more rapidly you will expand. So obviously this is a few examples of rapidly expanding countries like Guatemala, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia. That means your pre-reproductive ages from 0 to 14 are in huge numbers, which means eventually next year, or 3 years, 4 years on the line, they're going to be a reproductive age, which means they're going to reproduce even more. And then that's going to cause a growth in your population. If you look at this, expanding slowly, that's the United States, Australia, and China. We're starting to kind of make it kind of a skyscraper-looking image, a lot less of a wide base, so we're not really expanding quite as quickly. A stable population like Japan, Italy, and Greece kind of looks like a straight up and down tower, very much like the Washington Monument, I would say, more so than anything else. And that means they're pretty even as far as pre-reproductive and reproductive ages, and they're getting smaller as far as post-reproductive ages. A declining population would be where a majority of your population are older. They're in their post-reproductive years, and you have very little pre-reproductive and reproductive age groups or members of that age group. And this would be like Germany, Bulgaria, Russia. Those are some good examples of those. I think that in the AP exam you will need to know some examples and at least know how to read these age structure diagrams and predict population change based on these factors that we've already been talking about. This is just a couple other images to show you that these are population age structures by sex in developed and developing countries. So you can see developing countries, like we said earlier, are growing quite rapidly because they have a large base, large number in their pre-reproductive years, but they're fairly even throughout, and both are really even throughout as far as numbers-wise. It's kind of hard to tell the difference, but both categories, developed and developing, have even numbers, male versus female. This is just breaking down. There's developing countries, male versus female, and then there's the developed countries for males versus females. We can use age structure information to actually make population and economic projections. The baby boomers, what's going to happen in the job market when they retire. The book foretells it, where we're going to have even a greater economic. We're not going to have enough people to fill the jobs when baby boomers retire. But because we're in such a depression right now, I wouldn't say depression, but we're coming off of a depression, hopefully. That I don't feel that maybe we're going to have as big of a problem with this, because we already are lacking in jobs. One of our biggest issues in the economy, that as the baby boomers tend to retire, that's kind of good for our economy because we're getting our younger people kind of in there as far as jobs goes. But the books does predict that we'll have an issue because the baby boomers will retire around the same age and they're around the same time, that we won't have enough young workers to fulfill those spots. If you also think about it, when you have a population made up of mostly older people, a decline would be your population as well as your economy can decline relatively rapidly. If the slow decline of people, as far as population, that's okay. It's manageable. You can deal with it. But a rapid decline, you can have serious economic problems. And what I mean by that, if you have a large drop in your population and all these people start retiring as far as your economy goes, and you don't have solid leaders to lead those companies, your companies can crumble, which then brings your economy down. You have severe societal problems as well. No leadership as far as a country, same kind of deal, just like a business. It could bring your country down as well. So that's kind of a scary thought as far as a rapid decline, which we're not in the United States really as far as the economy, I don't think, anymore, because of that kind of bad time that we were having with the economy in the past few years. This is just some problems, again, with rapid population decline. It can threaten economic growth, labor shortages, less government revenues for workers, less entrepreneurship and new businesses formation because we don't have the old ones to really compete with, but we're not really having anybody step in and try to take over those. Less likelihood for new technology being developed, increasing public deficits and to fund higher pensions and healthcare costs, and basically your economics could go down the chute, which is a bad thing. All right, populations can decline from a rising death rate. This is the little section on the AIDS tragedy. We have 25 million people killed in 2008 just from AIDS itself, and many of those are young adults. And that's really your most productive age class, are those young adults that are really willing to work hard and trying to advance their careers and themselves and their pocketbooks. And when you have a majority of those dying, and that's going to take its toll on the economy as well as population. We do have a sharp drop in life expectancy because since AIDS came on the scene, especially in those third world nations, and the international community has been called upon to really help reduce the spread of HIV through educating the people, especially in those developing nations, and as well as increasing healthcare and financial assistance and volunteers to help with all of that in education. That brings us to the end of section 6.3. Hope you've enjoyed it.